So, Bolo, how far with your crypto stuff now? How is the market?
Well, the market has been doing really well for some time. We've seen a little bit of
Why are you saying it seriously as if it's a panel session? My friend, talk to me. What's going on?
And the market has been dope. It has been stagnant for some time. I mean, I think we are currently at 27 or 28K. That's Bitcoin. I mean, but we started the year even lower. So
yeah, but you guys don't seem to want to get share of scandals. MTI, Mirror Trading International, the fraud case has gotten an update, and you guys don't seem to want to stay clear of controversy. I mean, last year it was Sam Backman fried.
But it has reduced. It has reduced.
Like how many months?
And you know, we are always in the news.
You're really in the news.
Yeah,
like when Nomba Bank was collapsing, even instead of you guys to actually just lay under the radar, but no, a crypto-focused bank had to also collapse.
I mean, it is what it is, man.
Then your government says they regulate blockchain, but they don't regulate crypto.
I mean, it's really weird because blockchain was the word is actually like they've approved the use of blockchain, which is weird because it's like saying you've approved the use of, say, JavaScript, or I don't know. It's like it's something that was never banned, it's something that was never stopped.
You approve the use of beans, but you can't use Akara.
Exactly. Yes. I mean, crypto is one of the applications of blockchain, so it's weird, yeah, but what they are saying now is that you now regulators like the NITDA and all of them will now like create a regulatory framework for the use of blockchain, which I think is not that it's unnecessary, but I guess the main reason why they are doing this, when you think about it, is probably for banks, right? Because banks don't. They've been told to not to touch anything blockchain, crypto related. So, I mean, blockchain is not crypto, but if you are playing with blockchain and government does not understand what you are doing, and government hears blockchain, it can come for you. But I guess banks can now use the technology for themselves to probably improve whatever it is that they do. Thinking about it now, I actually think it makes sense because we might now have I think we've seen some companies that want to use blockchain for something real estate, something here and there. Maybe now the go ahead for them will now be better. I don't know.
And the regulatory environment is clearer for them.
So now that it has been approved, again, let me say it was not banned, but now that it has been officially approved, maybe we'll now see more use cases for blockchain. Maybe people will not be afraid to do things with blockchain.
Okay. I'm hearing Kenya's Communication Authority will be setting up a platform which is it a spyware or something to detect fake phones.
Okay. Yes.
That is a very, very weird thing.
I'm telling you.
No, but it reminds me of my school days, right? I think it was 2014. I went to Ring Road in Benin and bought Samsung Galaxy S4 for 13,000 naira.
S4? What year was this?
2014. Don't worry. Don't even think about exchange rate. I bought rubbish.
Well, I'm not even looking at the exchange rate. Like
Did you know at the time?
I was thinking it was a steal. Like I heard you could get cheap phones at Ring Road. Then I went to buy a Samsung Galaxy S4. Me and my friend, we bought one each.
A cheap problem.
And it was a disaster, like very, very classic disaster. But I mean, those are for me. I feel like that's like par for the course in African market, right? Fake. The phone was very, very fake. Like 4G was just blasting on top, like woo, very big 4G sign. That should have been the sign that something is wrong.
But back then, a lot of a lot of phones were actually fake back then.
So
Except you are not using feature phone.
Has it reduced?
I think it has. I think a lot of those phones have now become more. I mean, look at if you look at Techno several years ago, you say Techno was a fake phone.
No, Techno's value proposition was clear.
For those of you that don't have money,
that you don't have money, this is an affordable entry point into the smartphone space, and it does a very good job. I mean, I see Twitter people talking about who still uses Techno. The people that use Techno and Infinix,
there are more than people that use iPhone and Samsung,
like by far in Africa. So Techno's and Infinix value proposition is very, very clear and straightforward. They give you good value for the money you are paying, right? It doesn't have the longevity of iPhone or Samsung, but I mean,
you're not buying an iPhone or Samsung.
You're not buying an iPhone or Samsung. So, but my concern is why is this an issue that the government should be worried about? That's what I'm thinking about right now.
Okay, so just to clarify, let me just clarify what exactly is going on in Kenya. So what they are trying to do is they are trying to install something called a device management system that will, on mobile phones through the telcos, that will allow them know which phones are fake, right? And the issue there is that there are privacy concerns, right? Like if the government installs, they're able to install these things in people's phones, it's possible that they might get access to, they might invade on people's privacy. They might start listening in on your calls, know the kind of text you are sending. And it's not just people raising these things, even the telcos themselves are raising these concerns that why this should not be done. But from what we are hearing now, the Supreme Court has granted the Communications Authority in Kenya access to actually do this, so they can install. And then the Communications Authority is saying, oh no, we will not be listening on your calls, we won't get access to anything, so just give us we'll just be able to detect, this is the identification number of this phone and this is the user. That is all we will know. But Safaricom is saying, no, this thing, you could actually see a lot more, you could know a lot more through this thing. And then, which now takes us back to the question you asked, that why is the government concerned with fake phones? I mean, I might be interested in buying the knockoff iPhone 14 Pro Max just to show up. Like, how is that your business? As long as the phone serves, like, is it that normally people cannot, when you think about Africa and phones, there are kind of phones that people cannot really afford, right? I saw a statistic in Kenya, like when you look at feature phones to smartphones, people are buying a lot more feature phones than smartphones. So the question is simple: which one will be government owned for inside the thing? Let me buy my knockoff iPhone.
It's very weird. So I get the fact that the government have like something like a standard organization, right, to prevent the importation or coming in of counterfeit products into the country. It's in the best interest of the government that say you don't have counterfeit drugs, you don't have counterfeit food products. Then in countries like the US and UK, they actually put like special regulations on the kind of quality they want in the products you are bringing into the country, right? So, but everything is done at that entry point. So, but this is looking like a case of trying to cure rather than prevent.
Exactly.
Because you're not doing much.
I already have the phone. So, are you going to come and take my phone from me?
So, why do you need to come and... You said they want to disable services to the phone and all of that. Then, and of course, the guys manufacturing these fake phones, they're getting really, really good. Really, really good. Like they can install really, really advanced equipment inside the phone that even your device management system might not be able to spot all of them. Right. So, but I mean, in those days when I used to read specs of Symbian phones, right? So there was this platform called Trusted Reviews. Edward Chester, God bless you wherever you are. Then there's this platform called Trusted Reviews. Then anytime I want to check the review of a phone, say Nokia N95 or A70, whatever, I will go to that platform. If I want to check the specs, I will go to Nokia's platform. Now, Nokia has if you look at it very, very closely, you see that the specs for phones coming to Middle East and Africa is is different from the specs that's going to US and Europe, which was very, very weird at the time, right? So it means these companies, even for the big companies that you already know, they still demand a certain standard, which is what I think the focus should be. But yeah, maybe we should not jump into any conclusions yet. True. Let's see how this plays out. But yeah, that's... Well, that thing is very, very weird.
It is.
Where's your business?
It is.
You want to say something?
No, like, I agree with what you're saying about it being weird.
It's really weird. So, guys, let us know what you think. Maybe there's something we're not saying. And, of course, we're always open to the comments. You're sending us, and we appreciate them. Paulo say we've been battling for how many weeks now? Yeah, so that's I'm really enjoying the conversations, and I'm learning a lot. So, but from Kenya, we're coming to Nigeria. We typically don't cover funding news on this podcast, but Nomba raised $30 million. What was interesting was, hey, this is the funding winter where everybody is shouting, hey, capital is hard, this. But Nomba does raise $30 million. It reminds me of Isaac. He says, sow in that land, and you receive, and you reap. Don't go to Egypt where there's plenty. Where there's famine now, just sow there. So, but Nomba raised $30 million, and they got investment from Shopify. Those were two very, very interesting facts. So, Jim is here to help us out with that.
Okay. So, like you already said, Nomba got a 30 million pre-series B round from a couple of investors. So it was led by Base 10 partners, and Shopify was one of the investors. So, like you mentioned, it's a bit interesting because, I mean, Shopify, yes, they've invested in a lot of other companies, but what and why are they investing in an African startup? So,
is this their first African startup? Is it
from what I have seen, this is their first. I haven't seen any other African startup that they've invested in, but it's also very possible they've invested in a lot of other startups that are, okay, maybe not a lot, but maybe one or two other startups in Africa. But I was trying to see the pattern, whether there's any pattern in the kind of startups they invest in. So they typically invest in so Shopify, you know it as this platform where you have a product you want to sell. They just give you everything from a storefront to payment options and all of that. But they also investing in startups that sell directly to consumers, so direct to consumer brands. So it could be it could be they've done an investment in a startup that helps with marketing. They've done it with like WhatsApp-based marketing as well. So a lot of it has just been targeting startups that are working directly with customers. I think Nomba is one of the few fintech startups they've invested in. But why? So I'm also looking at why they would be interested in investing in Nomba. I was trying to see if I could get a good number of how many people use Shopify in Africa. And it's not, these are not official figures, but the number is around 21,000 people. Majority of them are in South Africa, which is also interesting. If they're in South Africa, why are you investing in a Nigerian startup? But the thing is, Nomba's, let's say, their suite of services. So a lot of people know them as payment processing, but that's not all they do. So yes, they have the POS that you can use to accept payments. You can also accept payments on your website. But recently, they've started building in new features. So they have like business, we like call them business banking features. So you can open a business account or a bank account for your business on Nomba. You can also get invoicing. So you want to create an invoice and send to a customer, you can do it. You can track. So if I have Chimgozi and Sons and I have 4 locations, I can track payments across all those locations using a Nomba account. There's also something they are building which is like a restaurant management system of sorts, where my customers can order food and track the order, everything. Like let's call it an order management system that restaurants can use. There's a few other, like I call them bespoke options for businesses. So if, for example, I wanted to sell on Shopify, I guess they could use, because of this investment, they could now, Nomba could be like a payments partner in Africa. I don't know what payment partners the companies who sell on Shopify currently use, but Nomba could be a payment partner helping you. Like you have a Shopify store in Nigeria, but Nomba is a payment option. It could also mean that the Shopify sellers in Africa or in Nigeria could also they could put in some of these features. So basically, whenever they've done these investments, the companies have they've added features that could help Shopify users. So perhaps, Nomba is looking at continental expansion. So maybe that's the reason they are doing it. We don't know when they will be doing the expansion, but that could be the reason.
Or maybe Shopify wants more users from Nigeria because
possibly
it's also a large market in Africa, right? And a lot of people do a lot of online. They mostly do it on social media, and Shopify is probably thinking, what if we get all these guys on our platform through Nomba?
There's Bumper. Bumper Nomba. So that shows that there's a market there.
Yeah.
So maybe this is Shopify trying to put, because everybody estimates that e-commerce activity is going to grow in Africa or in Nigeria. I agree with that. Although I think that the model might be slightly different. So as opposed to a large aggregator, it may be smaller e-commerce brands that are hyper-focused and hyper-targeted at certain segments that we would have. So this could be Shopify getting in as early as possible. There's already so Nomba has about 30,000 businesses on their platform. We don't know what the spread is like, but they also have a mobile money business, or let's call it agent banking business. So that agent banking business could probably make up a bulk of the 300,000 businesses. But this could also be Shopify trying to get in on the act before it's too late.
Is it possible to see a Shopify acquisition? Shopify acquiring Bumper?
Yes, it's possible. So this is this is me. Yeah. So last one there was Qatar investing in Raise. They do similar things, and it's a bit similar to the Paystack Stripe acquisition that led Paystack Stripe investment that now led to an acquisition. You could say MoneyPoint, Payday, that brought up rumors of an acquisition. We can't say for sure whether there will be a Shopify Nomba acquisition. So sorry, Bumper acquisition.
Either of them is a fair game, actually.
Yeah. Shopify hasn't done too many acquisitions. Compared to guys like Amazon, they've not done too many. But they've also made. So, for example, they invested in. I think it's Afterpay, and they became the official buy now pay later partner for them, and they cashed out big when they went public. So that could be the play for them here.
All right, that's quite interesting, and I'd like to see how that plays out. Stripe Paystack was a really, really interesting one. Like by 2020, you could already smell it coming. This could happen, right? And it happened. So, but talking about payments, Nigeria's payment space is rife with a lot of issues right now, right? From the banking side to the startup side. Then I've seen virtual card providers shutting down their services, shuttling their services rather. Or is it, will I call it shuttling or throttling? It's throttling that I will call it. But yeah, virtual card payment services. So for context, in Nigeria, it's very, very difficult to make payments for international transactions, right? So let's say you even want to get something on Shopify right now from Nigeria, you have to do a lot of mental mathematics before you could actually decide, okay, this is how I want. It's not as straightforward as, say, buying something from Jumia or buying something. So Shopify, Amazon, all those companies, very, very difficult right now. AliExpress used to be very, very easy, but now mental gymnastics. But these virtual card providers, the Paydays, the cheaper cards, the Changeras, have been offering these services, but right now, it seems to be an issue in that space.
Yes. So, I mean, if we think back to 2022, that was when we started seeing, let's say, the businesses that offer these services become more vocal. So first we had 54 leaving, and then all these startups that it was powering just had to stop offering or issuing virtual cards for I think a few weeks. So they couldn't issue it. Users could not access the money that was not access. They couldn't fund their virtual cards. So basically, those cards were useless for a while. But last week we saw Payday send out messages to users that they'll be cutting off access to the existing cards that they had, and Cheaper Cash followed up I think that was yesterday. Today's is third, right? I'll be fourth.
Today's fourth.
Okay, yeah. So Cheaper Cash followed up this week, and they said from May 2nd, that was Tuesday, any declined transaction because of insufficient funds. So no more insufficient funds. I think we should play it at this point. So any declined transaction because of insufficient funds will attract a 500 naira fee.
So, but what I find scary now is, okay, people don't typically fund their virtual cards down.
Yeah.
They just send money to it when they want to use it, right? Then, I mean, the day Opener wanted to deduct their money for GPT-4, there wasn't money in the Cheaper Cash and it declined.
Yeah.
That's for me. $0. They couldn't make any deduction. But it's not through any fault of mine. I tried to send money to Cheaper Cash.
It didn't work.
Network was not going through. So I'm going to be penalized for that.
Yes, you will be.
Well done. Well done, you people. All right. So, but I mean, from what I see, it's like that's like the standard in
a lot of
more developed countries.
Yes.
So why has that not been like a thing? So, but what is the issue? Go. Like, what's the...
Okay, so maybe I'll start by tracing why we even need. You mentioned a bit. Why do we even need virtual cards in the first place? So, virtual cards just work like your regular cards. You fund them, you make transactions. But in the last 1 year, we've seen that because of FX challenges. For context, if you're not a Nigerian or Ghanaian, you probably do not relate. But we've been struggling to get dollars. Basically, we just can't get dollars. And we need dollars if you're going to pay for Amazon Prime, Shopify, Netflix, YouTube Music, and stuff like that.
You don't need this for Amazon Prime.
Oh, you don't need it for Amazon Prime?
Yeah, they are charging natively.
Oh,
no.
Okay. So
Netflix to native.
All right. So if we want to make all those payments, we need dollars. And we can't, there are very, very few options. You go to your bank and you get it. The bank says, no, we don't have dollars. Go to the Bureau de Change guys on the street. You go there and it's about... I think 760 naira. It's a lot of work. Not everybody wants to go around. So, in coming our
virtual card
providers, and they do all of that. So all I just need to do is download your app, create one, and fund the card, and then you charge me fees that my bank will charge me regularly for using for every transaction I make. Right. So the problem now is that those virtual card providers. So virtual card providers have the same problem that all other guys have, and from what I've heard, a lot of the time when 54 left, we had chargeback fraud. I think we've talked about chargeback fraud on a previous episode, but just to explain, when you buy a product on Amazon and the product gets to you and you don't like that product, you can dispute it, and then your money will be refunded. Right, but people can also get those products, dispute the transaction, and tell you that they did not authorize that transaction, and now you have to refund them. So, in order for that process to be done, your provider, your banking provider, or your card provider has to go to their card scheme. So this could be MasterCard or Visa, and say, "Oh, this guy says he didn't authorize this transaction. Can you verify this?" It takes a lot of time. It could be anywhere from weeks to months for that to be done, and that's where it now becomes a fraudulent action. I have not been able to get like specific figures of how much businesses lose, but apparently it's a big deal for businesses because it takes out. There's a lot of time because sometimes the process can even get manual for them to confirm that you're not defrauding them. So what they just do is that, how do you know that someone did not authorize the transaction when his PIN was used? You can't detect any malicious activity on his account, but he says he didn't authorize it. So how do you know that this guy actually is telling you the truth. It's very difficult because, well, you're not in his mind. So all of those processes is cumbersome, and businesses would rather not have it. So right now there has been an increase in chargeback frauds. Then you also talked about declined transactions. A lot of the time we sign up for services that we just want the free trial. And when the free trial expires, because there's no money there, they just can't charge you. So every single time that you get a message, this transaction was declined, some card schemes charge your provider for that. The fees vary, but for both chargeback fraud and the declines, it could be anywhere from $20 to $100.
No, but you can't blame us. I remember the day one of my guys LinkedIn deducted money for after he did the whole LinkedIn premium trial. LinkedIn had deducted the money for the premium, about 50-something thousand in 1 month. The guy could not see road that day. So I don't know.
I get that, but it's costing the businesses money.
Like it's costing,
it's like actual money for them to dispute a transaction, and every single time that the card is declined. There's also the fact that MasterCard, for example, says your chargeback rate should be less than 1% or highest 1%. So I spoke to the founder who said that they are beginning to see ridiculously high numbers. And same thing with what happened with Union 54, where MasterCard had to tell them that, look, what's happening? We are getting complaints. What's happening? So once it gets above that threshold, you actually pay penalties for that. Okay. So every those actions on our part, which may not be intentional, it's impacting the businesses. They have to pay for it. So you were asking why they are doing this or why you should be penalized. So I'm looking at it. If Cheaper Cash is charging you 500 naira, that is less than $1. Okay, maybe if you use CBN rate, it's about $1 plus, right? It's probably not enough for them to cover the cost of that declined transaction for you, right? So that means for every time that this has happened in the past, let's just assume that, okay, yes, it was actually 500 naira. For every time your card has declined in the past, they were paying 500 naira to MasterCard, right? You're doing a business, you don't want to run at a loss. So I don't know how many numbers, like the declined transactions they have. It could
be a lot.
Obviously, there has to be significant money being lost because of this. So that's where the problem is coming. And there are some conversations around disposable cards. So you want to fund YouTube Music for this month, you get a disposable card, which is actually a thing in some parts of the world. You do it, and then you get like just that card will only be available for that month, and then you move on. So on your own part, you fund it, you do what you want to do, you move on. The card provider doesn't have to incur any loss on that, which I think
might be a good way forward, actually.
Because a lot of people are complaining about Cheaper Cash charging them. But like someone pointed out, we've become so used to, and it's through no fault of ours. Don't introduce people to a vibe you can't maintain. That was what the fintech startups did, where a lot of their services were free. And then the moment they say adding fees, people are like, but you didn't tell me this when we got started.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting that all of this is happening just when businesses are struggling to raise money. But I think it's good and would probably provide a template for others going forward that don't start what you can finish, basically. So yes, if you have a card, go and fund your card, or if you don't fund your card, cancel your subscription.
But what if, like me, network did not go?
Well, so if
because that
network
doesn't
go, yes, it happens. So I guess this is now where we can try and help them by canceling the sub. It's easier for you to cancel the subscription than for you to transfer money. So maybe that would be a better option.
Okay. Cancel your subs, though, people. So, but yeah, that's an interesting one, and I would like to see. I mean, we're having an article about it, right? So, yeah, if you want to read more about the whole chargeback, virtual card issues, just head to Techpoint Africa. Now, finally, we want to round up with this story, which. Sorry, I'm breathing in so I can prepare for dragging. Yes, the Lagos state government announced that they were going to be launching electric buses in Lagos. All right. So, I mean, I guess because they made an amendment in the federal government that states cannot generate their own power or something. Is that like the thinking behind this? But no, let me not preempt you. Go on, please.
Okay, all right, yeah. So if you are on Twitter often, I'm sure you'll have seen the Lagos State Governor announcing that is so like the first set of electric buses are now in Lagos, part of their mass transit, their super mass transit program. So the buses, they gave us some stats, right, about the buses. So on a full charge, they can keep working for around 280 kilometers. They also, because they're electric buses, there's no fumes, so there's no environmental, this and that.
280 kilometers, convert that to traffic.
All right. So when you think about it, right, I tried to do a calculation last night, and that's like going from Bega to Tafawa Balewa Square 8 or 9 times. Like go come.
Tafawa Balewa Square.
Go alone. Like keep going. Yes. Around 8 times.
8 times.
Yes.
With no traffic. I mean,
with no traffic. That's with no. Like when you think about it, that means you have to somehow approximate for traffic with that.
So how many hours are we talking about? I mean, the distance may not be clear. But how many hours are we talking about?
Okay, so let's say it will take you. Let's say to take you around without traffic, right? You are going from Bega to Tafawa Balewa Square. Let's say to take you an hour.
Take me an hour.
That's 8 hours. That means the bus
on full charge, you can do
on
8
a full
hours.
charge, it can continue working without dying for around 8 hours.
So that means,
Right.
give or take, the bus should be able to do 2 trips, like two trips every day.
Yes, and they also said the normal BRT buses that we have, the one that uses fossil fuel, they do on a daily basis. The all travel they do is usually no more than 200 kilometers an hour, right? Yeah. So, and they've also, and when you talk about EVs, something that comes to people's mind is no lights. How do you want to charge? So they've partnered with Orlando, right? So
Is
they said
Orlando. Is it
Orlando?
Oh, please, somebody help me out.
I've heard everything from O&O to Orlando. I don't even know.
I don't know.
You are saying Orlando. Have you Orlando?
Orlando.
Or is it Orlando?
We'll be fine.
Orlando.
All right. So it's the clean energy subsection of the Orlando, whichever one. So they are the ones that will be providing the charging stations and everything. But then, they've given up the fact, like, okay, that means you can stay on the road for long. Okay, that means we don't have to worry about charging. But there are still some things to worry about, right? And that is when you use electric vehicles, right? I mean, when you did your interview with Tolu Williams, the founder of SealTech, he said he had to make a lot of modifications. He saw something outside the country, he liked it, wanted to replicate it here, but he realized he has to make a lot of modifications, right? And the reason why is even the users themselves, the way Nigerians use things is different from the way someone in the UK or someone in China will use it, right? You need to put that into consideration. You also need to put roads into consideration. EVs are electric cars, right? Normally, cars don't like to enter flood. But when EVs enter flood, it's worse, right? It's because they're electric. They use electric motors, right? And electric and water, they don't go together. Another thing to worry about is the weather, right? Yes, okay. You might have 280 kilometers range. But then, Lagos can be hotter than some parts of the world, right? And when there's a lot of heat, your 280 kilometer range might fall to like 190. That's because I mean, even with your phone, you notice that when you use your phone, maybe you play really heavy games and your phone gets hot. You notice your battery drains a lot faster than how it will drain. Maybe you say you're just on Twitter or something. So Nigeria is, Africa in general, or say Sub-Saharan Africa, it's a hot place, right? So you need to put all these things into consideration. And I also noticed that Owando themselves, they had like this, like a report they did one time where they were talking about if Nigeria is like ready for EVs. And from what I saw, they were basically saying no. Because when you look at electricity, like, we don't really have electricity, right? That means it will take a lot, right? It will take a lot for you to create this infrastructure for EVs in Nigeria. So I'm thinking, if Orlando does this, I don't know what the partnership is like. I don't know what the give and take is like. But from what they are saying, the amount of investment they will need to do for this infrastructure, well, let's say it's just the buses. It's not as if everybody in Lagos start using it. But it still costs a lot. So would they really be willing to do enough that all these buses will be charged, and then by the time you go to the bus stop, you'll be able to use them, right? So another thing we need to think about is before we start, bashing and analysis and all that, they said there will be a pilot scheme, right? It's not as if we have electric cars, so yeah, come and enter, let's take it. There will be a pilot scheme where they will test things out, where they will know, okay, can this work? Can this not work? What do we need to change? Right. So that's like a disclaimer.
No, you address some of my concerns. I'm not going to bash because they said I don't have time again. But it's fine. But when you were talking about flood, the image that entered my head was that BRT bus in Lekki that people had to be bailing water out of.
I mean, things like that.
So, but yeah, I don't know, but let's leave it there. I think my only beef is they didn't partner with a local EV manufacturer.
Yes, and I'm
not even dwelling.
Okay.
I'm not doing that. Is my only beef.
All right.
Did they partner?
No, they did not.
Good. So if there's anything that we should know,
a Chinese car maker.
Yes. A Chinese car maker. Okay, it's fine. Do we have EV manufacturers in Nigeria?
Yes, but do they manufacture those kinds?
If you give them
at that level,
if you tell them to make it, they will make it. But let's leave the shalaye for another day. But yeah, guys, thank you for joining us and staying with us to this time. There's the Lagos Startup Expo that's coming up on May 20th at Landmark Event Center, and we want to use this opportunity to appreciate all our sponsors: Cantonic, Anchor, Cardify, Raknida, and Grey. And yeah, there are several more on the line, and a lot more companies are jumping in. They're snatching up booths. If you go to the Techpoint website, go to the Lagos Startup Expo website, lagosstartupexpo.com, and you can see the whole, everything is visualized there. You can see all the booths that have been picked and the spaces that are available. Just come and showcase. If you're solving a problem, come and give it to people who are looking for solutions to that problem. There's networking. There's a lot of fun going on. There'll be masterclasses and workshops from a lot of companies that are really, really solving pressing issues in the country. And don't forget to sign up to our newsletter, FinTech Today, handled by Chungozuri. Then the Workaholic by Oluwanifemi Kolawole, who decided to escape today. Then, of course, our flagship newsletter, Techpoint Digest. So see you guys in the next one. And if you are watching or listening to us from anywhere, for those of our listeners, where can they find us?
Okay, you can always find us on Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Hi-Hat Radio, and anywhere else you can find your podcast.
Still is smiling. It's all right. Bye-bye, people. See you in the next one.
Bye.